The Great Quake of 2018, Mega Thrust. That's what we can expect more than likely this year. July 19th through August 28th. The possibility of a very large earthquake in this time frame. I don't forecast earthquakes very often unless I'm really sure that it's going to happen. But right now, this entire window, the energy will be conducive for large earthquakes. So have an earthquake plan. That entire time frame, energy is going to be in play big time. Be ready. The Great Quake of 2018 is coming. I'm sure of it.
But I did a video a couple of days ago talking about the Ring of Fire starting to wake up because we have weak shields. We have a incoming solar wind, increasing geomagnetic storms, and all the planets of the inner solar system, including Jupiter and Saturn, are on one side of the sun. That magnetic pull has been talked about for 100 years, how it affects quakes. But we really are now building into a series of about 3 stages of a geomagnetic storm, and it's going to mean trouble for the lava and the lava flows and the people that are on the edges of this lava flow in Hawaii. But we got some strange earthquakes moving not only in the Ring of Fire, but the entire planet's being affected. You've got these 5s over in Iran and Iraq. And we've got a couple quakes, guys, along in Israel and up and through Syria in that area, in the Sea of Galilee a couple today. All they're not showing here, but I was looking at them. They occurred, and we'll look at a couple other things. 5.9s there. But again, Sea of Galilee, you can see here. Right there, guys. And there's, again, I'll show you another map with a couple other quakes there. I want to look around the world. I want to look around it here in this 10-minute video, not just about the solar wind and the earthquakes and the volcanoes and the planetary alignment, but we've got things that are biblical that we need to pay very close attention to. Let's look at the solar wind speed a minute. This is a 7-day model. And you can see that from the far left of this, we were averaging about 315, which is average, or 315 kilometers per second. But it's been rising. Now, we're just getting into the beginning of these geomagnetic storms. But when you're getting into 530, 540 kilometers per second, guys, you're rapidly approaching 1,000,000 miles per hour. In the video a few days ago, this coronal hole was in this area. And I said, as it turned towards the center of the sun, and you're looking at SDO images, which give us Earth-facing images of the sun. It's a satellite. That as it got closer, the solar wind speed would increase. Now, guys, as it gets to the right of where it's at now, kind of in the center of the sun, where the Earth is, again, this is the perspective of the satellite. It was placed there for this very reason. But it takes a couple of days for this solar wind to reach us. So as this moves to the right, as you're looking at this image, then this will increase for the next 2 to 3 to 4 days. Now, the plasma is making a beeline for the Earth, and what they're talking about is that magnetic canopy opening. Another thing we're watching, notice the timestamp today, July the 22nd, is Comet C2017 S3 Pan-STAR. And we've been getting some great images. But let me say this, now is the time, if you're going to get your telescope out and try to catch some images, between now and August the 8th is the time to do it, because it's it's not directly facing the sun, and you may get some night images, but once it drops through the orbit of Mercury, called the ecliptic, and it will rise out between the orbit of Mercury and Venus, it will become harder to see because of the sun. And as we go through this, you notice August the 9th in the bottom of the left, we'll just kind of play it through. It's going to get down to that bending point, that centrifugal maximum, where the sun's gravity takes over. The comet slingshots it back up into the upper solar system as far as looking at it from the ecliptic. When it does that, guys, and if you're looking at it from Earth, you're going to see, and I'll spin this around, that you're going to be looking directly through the sun trying to get pictures of it. So now is the time, and they're getting excellent ones. You saw the videos last night. Notice your timestamp again, August 9th. I'm going to play it through. We're going to drop it below the ecliptic with the modeling. And one of the things that I mentioned, we've never seen the comet before. We may never see it again. But is the nucleus intact, or is it multiple nuclei when they break up from the centrifugal force? When one of the greatest centrifugal forces a sun-diving comet will ever have is this slingshot move here. Guys, as it approaches the sun like this, it can go from 1 million miles a day to 11 million miles a day. As it drops through, suddenly slingshots back out. What happens? That gravitational tug and that inertia curve will tear these things apart. We saw it with ISIN. Again, look at your timestamp now. We're in the 1st of September. Pan-STARRS C 2017 S3 is about to climb back out. Now, when I spin this thing around and give you an Earth-facing perspective, notice Earth is in the blue orbit. As Pan-STARRS climbs, what is between the Earth and Pan-STARRS? The sun, guys. So if you're going to get your shots in, now is the time. Now, once it rises back up into the upper solar system, you may get some far-away shots of it. Now, quickly changing back to the earthquakes in the Middle East. You saw the ones in Iran and Iraq. But along the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee, guys, up into through that area, there's been bombing by Russia. It says the blasts felt like small earthquakes. This is July 21st, okay? And it's going on into today. There's things happening, guys, that are biblical, and you need to pay very close attention to them. These are actual images of the bombing. It started yesterday. It's going into today. Now, this is Syria. It has nothing to do with the ceasefire in Gaza. But that ceasefire has been broken, and they're fighting there again. On the Sinai border, the Gaza-Egypt border, there's been an attack by ISIS. Some Egyptian soldiers were killed, guys, and rockets were fired out of Egypt into Israel. And what we're looking at is a situation where Israel is being surrounded from the south, from the east, and from the north. Now, it's always been this way, but things are really escalating now. And these are ISIS attacks on the southern border with Egypt, killing an Egyptian officer, damaging a minesweeper, killing another soldier. Reports of the past hours that several shells fired from Egypt landed in the Rafah area. Palestinian media channels are releasing footage of balloons and the kites they light and try to send over and start forest fires and fires in the fields. Al Jazeera, more than 1,000 settlers have broken to the courtyards of the Al-Aqsa Mosque since this morning. Tel Aviv, Rabin Square tonight, more than 60,000 demand equal rights from Israel's LGBT. Not a good time to be protesting, guys. You've got problems on your border. Now, let's move up. This is very important. Very important. I want you to pay attention to this. You've got South Syria. ISIS says it's repelled another attack. South Syria says waves of Golan rockets are coming in. Multiple Russian airstrikes. More than 20,000 people have fled the ISIS-controlled pocket in Daraa. Guys, the ISIS claims to have thwarted a Syrian army assault near Tal Jammu. And here are the earthquakes, 3.4 magnitude. Another quake reported in Tzfat. These are from, I think, the bombings. But there's pressure on the entire planet, so it may be a combination of both. But guys, right here, now, the Quneitra border is so important. They're having to now evacuate all the white hats, all the neutral armies that have been there forever. The Israeli army operation that took place around midnight was under media blackout. Why? Look, Israeli military said the exceptional humanitarian gesture came from following the request of Europe and the U.S. The Israeli army confirms that hundreds of Syrian civil defense White House helmets and their families have been evacuated. Guys, in the Old Testament, the attack comes from the north. This is very important. Opposition fighters are burning Qunetric border, crossing into Israel. This is a picture 13 hours ago. They're burning, again, the border crossing. This is very important. This has a lot to do with, again, the white hats. You've got sacred ground from both sides. That if you read in the Old Testament, as the attack comes from the north, and the line of Judah, of Zion roars, the tops of Mount Carmel, which are in this area, are withered from the response in the attacks. Guys, we're in those days, we're in that time, we're dealing with clowns. But this is all in prophecy, even the situation politically around the world, just the way it was in the time of Jesus, has all been prophesied. This is a heads up, guys. Be safe.
What you're looking at is our solar system. Every planet in our solar system on July 19th, 2018, will all be on the same side of the sun. There will be no planets on the left-hand side of the sun, not one. That is a very rare event. That doesn't mean they're going to be in perfect alignment, but they're all going to be on the same side of the sun. With respect to all of the planets and the sun, they're all going to be on the right-hand side, with the exception of Mars.
As we get down here to the United States, and of course, last night's 5.6 and 5.2 and 4.3 and all that good stuff, look what happened right after. A new 4.5 earthquake struck right off the shores of California. So we go from the 5.6 or 5.7 total energy expended off the coast of Oregon, or off the coast of California, depending on how you want to look at that. And then we go right down to the coast of California. So force is flowing from northwest to southeast, and it's heading towards California in the next couple days. When this 4.5 struck, I got struck here in the Midwest United States with a denial of service attack. That's right. We have that documented, and I may have to seek some legal remedies. I can't right now, of course, but don't even know really where to begin with that. Like, well, what do? You go bust a kid in the basement, or you bust in a fusion center from the government?